What is good, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I wanted to break down some of the trades that I actually took today. As you guys saw this week, I actually ended up making $55,000 on my personal live account. And I also just got funded $5.7 million on Apex, which I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was very nervous during that challenge just simply because, and this just shows you like, there's a lot of psychology when it comes to trading that you actually have to be able to manage and maintain just simply because of how difficult the live trailing drawdown was. So it took me about a week to actually pass the challenge itself. And what I mean by live trailing drawdown is essentially the drawdown moves with your equity. So if I'm up in profit, like the max trailing drawdown was $7,500. So it'll trail up along with your balance if your equity goes up as well. So what I mean by that is, let's call it, hey, you know what? I decided to take a buy here, and in my account at this point was at 300K. Now I'm sitting at $301,000. I could still, of course, lose 7,500 bucks, but if price, let's just say the trailing drawdown was here. This is essentially where I would lose the challenge. And price comes up into here, and I'm up $1,000. This will then trail up $1,000 even though I didn't close the position. So I couldn't allow price action to pull back on me, and I really had to secure profits, and I couldn't really try and hit those home run trades. Like I was shorting the challenge up here, and I essentially passed scalping some of this move down. I scalped it here, scalped it over here, and then scalped it down here as well, and that's where I passed it. But I couldn't just hold the position because the risk was too great. And it's the same thing for the funded account until a certain point, which was why it was a little bit difficult. So I mainly focused on passing Apex on the beginning of the week, and then I started trading my own personal capital basically when I passed Apex, which is cool. All right, so I made $55,000 this specific week on my real account. Now, when it came to me looking to take these shorts, because I was shorting the majority of the day, and except I took an L on some buys. So I ended up looking at price action. Of course, what we want to identify, remember, what we want to identify is what has previous price action done and what is current price action doing. So price action over the last few days forming ranges where basically it was continuing to make lower lows and lower highs. Price action dumped overnight because there was news that Israel bombed Iran, I believe is what it was. And we saw price action dump all the way down to the 960s, saw a big pullback in the pre-market. And what I was looking for was essentially a bounce play from this 50-54s down to 50-30s, which I ended up catching a small portion of that move. Now, there wasn't really anything on the footprint charts, to be honest with you guys, up here in this range. So this is the resistance range that we have up here, which I'm going to mark this off really quick. This is a resistance range that we have up here. And there's not really much action going on in the footprint charts. We did have a finished auction towards this high, which is one thing that I like to see. Didn't have really great volume. This is pre-market, and this is actually market open. We did have a finished auction. I did notice that there was 570 orders on a positive delta, which was like, okay, well, I mean, there's some volume coming in, and then we saw price action dump. So that was kind of like the first clue that, okay, well, this resistance range is actually holding, and we could possibly see price action actually come down. Why? Because these orders could potentially be getting absorbed, but then at the same time, we also saw negative 381 on the delta at 50.56. So there's not really like much action going on where I could be like, yeah, you know what, this is a fantastic trade. So I decided to size down on this position, and I ended up going short as price action was rejecting the highs. And what that trade originally looked like was price action was, I was short up here, stops above the highs, and my targets were 50-30. So I was planning for a 3.5 R multiple. Now, I was looking at the 3-minute time frame. I was looking at price action at this support range over here, where essentially I had it drawn out something like this, right? The 50-40s, so a little bit lower over here. Right, as you guys can see, here's an entry, here's a rejection candlestick on that 3-minute time frame. We saw price action dump below this 3-minute time frame, and I actually ended up executing when price action broke below this low. So stop was a little bit bigger. So the trade was set up was just around the 3-hour multiple originally. That's what was planned. Now what I was looking for was for price action to continue, but as price action came down into the 40s, price action started to pull back, and then that's when I actually ended up closing the position because I didn't know if price action would have continued to break through this range or push past higher. And at that point in time, I was already up a 1.3 R multiple, which I don't like really closing, but that's kind of like worst case scenario because again, like I like to think of the charts as probabilities. It's like, okay, well, if price action is bouncing off the 40s, we can come back up into the 50s. And I'd rather secure now and then re-enter over here and try and look for that break. Where I did end up going back into the charts again. And, again, like looking at the footprint charts, there's not really like much volume. There's not really much action in the beginning, not seeing any crazy numbers on the delta. I am seeing some aggressive selling, and then we do have some big rejections towards the upside, and price action was slowly pushing down, which is what I want to see in terms of me continuing to hold that short. So when price action actually came up on this second candlestick, this first bearish candlestick came up, rejected, ended up going short on the push back down with my stop loss slightly above the highs. Again, same take profit. Price action ended up slowly dumping, and then I actually ended up taking the full position off here when price action rejected the 40s yet again for a 1.6 R multiple. So at this point in time on the day, I'm up just around a 3 R multiple, which is pretty solid. It's good, but it's not the best because there were two 1.6 R multiple trades, and I could have potentially maybe held this position a little bit longer because I did wait for this candlestick to close, and it did have a big pullback, as you guys could see. I could have waited a little bit longer for the flush past the 40s, which I would have been done for the day. That would have been fantastic. So originally, I was looking for a bounce play here at the 29s, which this is where I actually started to look at the footprint charts a little bit more because we actually saw some action down here at the 29s, right? And I'll show you guys because no trading strategy is going to have an 100% win rate. And I want to talk about this loss. No trading strategy is going to have an 100% win rate. So when we zoom in and we look at this, there's way more action going on down here. And when I saw this, we saw all of these orders. We saw all of these negative orders on the delta where there's, again, 279 aggressive sellers compared to the buyers. We can definitely argue that there's a ton of aggressive selling into support. And as we started to see that rejection and price action actually go bullish, I didn't take the trade and I actually hesitated. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Let's see if we can actually look for some form of a bounce play to go long again. Where it's like, okay, well, price action actually came back down, and yet again, I hesitated on taking this position because I'm up a 3R multiple, right? I didn't like on this second trade how price action closed so strong, which again, that was psychological because I was looking to go essentially long in this area to at least take buys up into the 40s again, which this trade would have been TP done, and then I would have been done trading for the day. Then price action came back down into the range. I'm starting to see less volume here on the footprints, but price action gave me the rejection and I actually ended up taking the longs, right? So this is a losing trade. So I ended up taking the longs over here again, anticipating for price action to actually come back up into the highs up here. So I was looking at like a 9R multiple, which was fantastic. I'm only risking 1R. Worst case scenario, I'll still be up 2R for the day, which is cool. And that was originally the game plan, as you guys could see. I ended up taking the entry somewhere along this area here. My stops were under the 20, or at the 26s. As you guys can see, price dumped, so it immediately came down, hit my stop, and then pushed up where I had a potential 1R multiple. If I would have been up a 1R multiple, then price dumped right after, then I wouldn't have been able to actually, then I would have been able to actually just move my stop loss to break even and then just call it a day, right? But you know what? It's trading. You're going to take losses in the markets. I take losses in the markets. Everybody takes losses in the markets. What you could take away from this video is that my losing trade did not eat the profits of my winning trade, which is fantastic. And that's the way you want to trade. So I'm still green on the day, which is good. But I just wanted to give you guys a breakdown of essentially how my trading day actually went, talking about the winning trades and talking about the losing trades because I'm not always winning. And again, I'm here to provide value to you guys and be as transparent as I possibly can when it comes to trading. So those were the 3 trades that I ended up taking today. It was still a good trading day. It was a green trading day, but I feel like I definitely missed out because at some point I was like, okay, well, if we do see price action break this area, we could look for some shorts. But we were already pushing like midday afternoon, so I was like, you know what? If I just get stopped out here, I'm not going to continue to look to trade. Now call it a day. And other than that, guys, I will talk to you guys in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.